Hi guys, so before we start, can you just give me a little bit of background about, I guess, where you started, what age you were when you got into sales, and then I guess where you are now, where you're located, things like that.
Okay, would you like to start or do you want me to start?
All you.
Okay, so let's see, in a nutshell, I'm originally from New York, and then played baseball for life, still play baseball actually, and then after college, I actually played football in college, but over the summers I would do different types of like handyman type of jobs. My father actually did sales for a long time. He ran a business, but after he sold the business, he had this one job, I almost said one gig, where he was working with this guy, and they would travel to hospitals and sell bed sheets, like high thread count sheets. This guy had a bunch of different contracts with the hospital, so all the employees would come down on break and everything. So that was like my first like real look at sales. So I learned how to not just like do customer service and explain stuff, but I learned how to like control the conversation, impulse a customer, tell them what other customers have bought, what worked out really well, also pitching the higher thread counts. So even though I was paid hourly, if I sold X amount, I usually got like a little bonus on top of it. So, you know, when you're in your late teens trying to drink beer on the weekends, when you're back in college, you know, every $10 bonus counts.
Yeah.
So I was able to make it rain a couple of times at the bar. But that was my first shot at sales. Then I moved into this industry. I was just in a position, worked in restaurant, retail, construction, mostly jobs, not careers. And I just found myself tired. I was working a full-time and a part-time job, 65 hours a week. Had enough money just to buy beer, which again, that's cool at 23, but I knew that wouldn't be cool at 33. So I started interviewing with some companies, took an entry-level position because it was either I was going to go to grad school, take out more loans, which I wasn't about that. But I figured if I was going to do it, let me at least get some experience in the field and see if I like it, then go from there. So I ended up getting into the sales and marketing field, worked in New Brunswick. We were doing business to business with some energy clients, and I actually ended up doing very well, so well that same client asked me after about a year of being there if I was interested in representing them in South Jersey. But in order to do that, I had to get incorporated as a company, and that's where Aspermonte came up into the business we are now. So sales is easy once you know what you're doing. That's really the truth. So I guess that's like my little background.
Yeah.
How about you, Becky?
So, grew up, small town, big family, didn't know what I wanted to do like most, young college students. So I went to school initially for nursing. I can't handle the sight of blood, so I don't understand how I thought that would ever work out for me. But was a CNA throughout college, just because I like the people helping people type of business. But even from that experience, I saw that the nurses weren't necessarily happy with their careers and what they were doing, and wanted to feel fulfilled in my work life. So switched into whatever my credits transferred into, which was more social work and human services. So worked with a lot of different nonprofits, United Way, Social Security Administration for about a year after college. And that work was just inside a cubicle, little people interaction. I was bored, to be quite honest. So that's where I started job searching, and never saw myself doing anything like this. But people told me too, business type of background is always great experience on your resume.
Right.
So worst case scenario, it's going to be good for your resume for other future endeavors and employers. But I fell in love with our company, so I stuck with it. I've been doing this now over 10 plus years, and I love just the opportunity to help other people grow both personally and professionally.
Veteran.
Yes, oldie over here, okay?
All right. Okay, guys. So the next question I have is for both of you. So I guess going off of that, is there anyone, I guess, growing up that kind of mentored you in sales or like helped you kind of get a foot in the door? And then I guess, what have you learned from that, or what have they taught you?
You can take that one first.
Oh, thank you. So I would say just my parents in general were mentors to me. And again, it wasn't necessarily the sales, but I think more the work ethic. And I think that is one of the key components to somebody successful in our business. So I just saw they grew up as farmers and saw they worked their butts off, and the entrepreneurship role. But I just saw with my dad, he was so happy in the morning. It was 5:30 in the morning that he'd have to get up first to milk cows. And he was like skipping to the barn in the morning. I was like, what is wrong with you? And he was like, you know what? Like, if you love what you do, you never have to work a day in your life. So that really stuck home with me, that I always thought of that when I was job searching even. Like, what do I want to do? What's going to make me happy? Because I think first and foremost, you do have to be happy with what you do, and then you show up every single day and you're excited and motivated yourself. But my parents in general, I think just seeing their example of like the work ethic and being in a entrepreneurship type of role was really beneficial.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'd say on my end, it was in two different ways. One was definitely my grandfather, so he was like the serial entrepreneur.
Yeah.
30 years ago, like I guess even today, but like 30 years ago, like gasoline, like, wasn't as expensive, but it was still a commodity. Everybody needed it. So he got into the business of investing with them, and he actually ended up owning 26 different gas stations throughout New York and New Jersey. Yeah. He also had another business, a payphone business. So you think of how big that was before cell phones came out, which he probably dropped the ball, realizing that when he said it's probably not going to blow up to be a big thing. It ended up cell phones are being a big thing now. But he was also a part owner in a bar, like an after-hours bar. So he had 3 different types of businesses that he was doing, and throughout all that, he had 5 kids, and pretty much his kids really didn't have to work if they didn't want to. Now he's a nice guy, and I think he spoiled them way too much. They say it kind of skips a generation sometimes, but he pretty much provided like a full life just where he was willing to do the work up front. So that was a big motivator. Now my father, on the other hand, had a different bit of an impact, because my father actually took over one of those gas stations, and I mean, we were comfortable, like your typical like Italians, like Cadillacs in the driveway, nice house and stuff. But then he ended up selling the business, and they wanted us to get out of New York, so we moved to the Poconos. But so he went from being like a business owner to like working for the man, and just doing like a retail job. And I just noticed he was much more happy. Like, he was a lot happier when he was running his own business. And I definitely saw the financial situation. So, we had a conversation, myself, 2 of my brothers, and my father, where I was 16 years old, and he sat me and my brothers down, and he pretty much said, so here's what our bills look like. Here's how much income we have coming in between me and your mother. And it wasn't adding up. Like, the income wasn't matching the bills. So me and my brothers had to contribute $200 a month, just to survive. So kind of like went from being very comfortable to like basically living in poverty. Like, I know all about food stamps and how all that stuff works. But it definitely made me stronger, because it gave me like a much better advantage, because I knew what it was like to have both. Like, I knew what it was like to be comfortable. I knew what it was like to live like, like survival mode. So I think that's one of the other reasons why I thrived in this business. It's like when it came to sales and marketing, how much money do you want to make? It's as much as humanly possible.
You, right?
Like, so I'm not afraid to work hard. But I would say those were like the 2 key motivators. So one of a man who like had it all, another one of a man who had it and then lost it, and then we kind of had to build back up. Some deep stuff.
Yeah, I think it's great that you saw both sides, because then it's kind of like you can speak on behalf of people who come from both backgrounds. Right. Okay, so this next question is for Nick. So I guess in your company, not necessarily at Cherry Hill, but just in general. So say you're interviewing 2 applicants, right? So, and they both come in, and they're very qualified. They have a great resume. Like, they went to a great school. They have great experience, but you only have room for one. So in that instance, I guess, what would you do to solve that issue?
So my immediate thought would be, if I really like both, I'll just hire both. Like, I'll figure it out. But if I did have to hire just one, I would make sure that they're both doing like a job shadow interview. Okay. And just because, like, even though like, my first impression, like, we sit down for 10 to 20 minutes during a preliminary interview, but I would more or less want to see their feedback after the whole job shadow day. And also I want to get feedback from my team leads who did those interviews. That would probably give me a more clear answer of which one to go with if I had to choose. But if I feel like if I have like if I'm looking to fill one position, I have 2 that I really like, I'll hire 2.
And just make room.
Yep. And if I need to fill one position, I didn't like both of those candidates, I wouldn't hire either of them. I'm not going to fill positions just to fill positions. So it's really like, where do we feel the most potential is going to come out of? Like, not everybody's going to know everything about everything when they first come in. I didn't. I'm sure you didn't. Yeah, so, you know, who do you feel you can develop more? Who's going to put in the work?
Who's coachable?
Who's coachable?
Right.
Who has a great attitude? Who's not going to be a pain in the ass? Who's not going to feel entitled? I can just keep going, but I'll cut it off.
Okay. Okay, Becky, this is a question for you. So I guess if someone was looking to get into a leadership role, doesn't have to be in sales, marketing, it could be, you know, in anything that they want to do, what advice would you give someone who's just starting out?
Sure. I think for me, when I think of a leader, it's just somebody that people would want to follow and look up to. So I think it's just always being that best example yourself in things that you do. So, you know, I think even things that you do personally, people watch that. So if I'm a hot mess at home or unorganized, I think that same criteria follows through in business and professional setting, and people will see that and pick up on it. And I want people to be attracted to me both personally and professionally. So to be a strong leader, I try to emulate how I look to other people and how other people look up to me. And would I follow me is a question that I would ask. Would I follow myself to Africa if I said tomorrow we're going to open up a branch in Africa? And some days maybe I would have said no, and other days I would have said yes. So I think just being an example with a work ethic, then student mentality, I feel like I just have to be humble to get better and always make a better self. I think Nick can agree too that we're constantly educating ourselves, because if we're showing that we're stronger as people, again, we're going to be able to attract that talent that we're looking for and create better examples around us.
100%.
Right, making yourself better. Yeah. Okay, so Nick, this question is for you. So I guess this more pertains to your Cherry Hill office. So when someone comes in for an interview, how are you showing them, I guess, how you're different from other, you know, sales and marketing firms? So whether that's like you said, in the job shadow, or, you know, what your office looks like, or anything like that.
Yeah, great question, because I know a lot of people, when they're interviewing, a lot of companies may seem like the same. Honestly, at this point, I'm at the point in my career where I'm just not trying to impress everybody, and I'm not trying to bend over backwards for what people want. I just feel like a lot of firms, they're trying to sell people on like the future, which I get that, you know, but like the job is the job, you know, so it's like, as somebody who works hard, like I understand the fact that I may have to start at the bottom of the totem pole in a way. I'm willing to do the job as long as there's opportunities to actually move up. So like at my point, I think what people like and respect a lot about like this company is that we're not afraid to just talk about like all the goods, the bad, the challenges. You know, like any job has its pros and cons. But like as far as like what do I do to get them look at like our company culture? I mean, you do a great job putting up a lot about our company culture. You know, we're going to have like the Real Talk with Nick coming soon, that whole series. So that's going to be very interesting, which I would definitely recommend watching that. Like we're not trying to impress every single person. I'm not. Like I'm looking for the people who are willing to scrap, to fight, to learn. You know, and if you feel like you're entitled, or like you just, and no offense to people as we're coming into May, I know a lot of people are going to be graduating, but if you think just because you have a degree that you should be making $60,000 a year, like rude awakening. Like that is not going to happen. And if that's what you feel, then this isn't the right company. You got to earn that. So that's just my sense. People love that about us here. There are people who don't like us about that, and I'm okay. You know, if I'm making everybody happy, I'm probably not doing my job right. So
start from the bottom.
Yeah. Who says you got to stay at the bottom though? Yeah. You know, like nobody said, like, you know, when you think entry level, who said you got to stay entry level? You know, we want to develop people, and realistically, you're not going to be entry level here for your whole career unless you're only here for a couple weeks, which that does happen sometimes. I put it out there. Like, what do you want me to say? Like, everybody feels that they can do the job, but, you know, I feel like I could probably bench press 300 pounds. Right now, no. I would get buried. But if I started working at it for like 2 months straight, I could probably get it. Just saying, I could bench like 250 right now. We'll cut that
Almost
part
there.
out, though. We'll cut that part out. Yeah, but that's like my 2 cents on that.
I think that's great. I think for both of you, you show that there's like a lot of opportunity when you're coming into the company. And then, you know, if you stick with it, you can obviously progress further.